Welcome to Mind Shield. We protect the mind and pursue the truth. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Mind Shield Academy. Today, we're going to move away from chaotic, hard-to-explain experiences and step into a really structured, powerful method of investigation. We are literally going to build a tool that helps you separate real, meaningful patterns from just random noise. Okay, let's really dive into this because this one idea, it changes everything. This is where we completely shift our approach. We're not making claims about why something is happening anymore. Instead, we're building a disciplined, almost forensic catalog of exactly what is happening. That focus on pure evidence, it's the bedrock of any credible investigation.
You know, our brains are just these incredible pattern matching machines. It's a survival trait, right? It helps us make sense of the world. But that same amazing ability, sometimes called apophenia, can seriously lead us down the wrong path. It's why we see faces in clouds or connect two totally unrelated events. To build a solid case, we have to use a rigorous method that stops us from mistaking a coincidence for something deliberate. And this right here makes the difference crystal clear. A belief, I'm being targeted by a satellite, well, that's a conclusion, it's a theory about the cause. But a signature? A signature is a repeatable, verifiable observation of the effect. It's a clean collection of facts, the what, the where, the when. It's pure data with no story attached, at least not yet.
So what exactly is a signature then? How do we actually build one? Let's break it down into its core pieces. I want you to think of yourself as a field scientist who's just stumbled on a brand new phenomenon, and you have to catalog it with absolute precision. Here's our working definition. A signature carefully separates the what, when, and where from the who and why. And let me tell you, that discipline is absolutely crucial. It's what keeps our investigation grounded in hard evidence and stops us from jumping to conclusions we just can't back up. Okay, so we've got the concept down, but how does this one idea grow into a powerful investigative tool? Well, that's where your signature library comes in. This isn't about one-off events. It's about systematically building a data set that can start to reveal real patterns over time. This three-step process is basically your new protocol. It's how you're going to turn those anecdotal experiences into a structured data set that's ready for some real analysis. First, you create your template. Second, you use it for every single incident, no exceptions. And third, and this one is so important, you document the times when you expect something to happen and it doesn't. So here's a fantastic starting template. By using standardized fields like time, location, the state of your devices, any symptoms, and physical or digital artifacts, you make sure every single entry is consistent. And that consistency, well, that's the magic ingredient that lets you compare different incidents and find the real connections later on. All right, so your data library is starting to grow. This is where a whole new kind of discipline has to kick in. You've got to be so aware of the mental traps that can lead you, or anyone else looking at your data, down the wrong path. You have to actively fight your own brain's biases. Let's look at the three biggest culprits. First up, confirmation bias. That's when you only hunt for evidence that proves your theory and you ignore everything that contradicts it. Second, apophenia, which we talked about, just seeing connections where none exist. And finally, blending narratives. This is where you contaminate your hard-earned data with unverified theories, and that just destroys your credibility. Simply knowing these traps exist is half the battle. So, with all that in mind, how do you actively defend against your own brain's tendency to see what it wants to see? What is the one single technique that can add just a massive amount of credibility and rigor to your data library? And the answer is deceptively simple. You log the nulls. A null trial is when all the conditions are just right for an incident, but, well, nothing happens. For example, if you think something happens every time a certain car parks outside, you have to log every single time that car is there and nothing happens. This negative data is just as important. I'd argue it's even more important than the hits. So after weeks, maybe months of this disciplined logging, and that includes all those critical null trials, you can finally start to do the work of an analyst. Now you can actually search for statistically significant patterns in your own data, and you start moving from just a list of incidents to real actionable insights. And this is what a real data cluster can look like when you visualize it. Just imagine your logs show that a specific signature, let's call it Alpha 7, happens overwhelmingly in your bedroom, but almost never at work or in the living room. Wow, that is a powerful investigative lead. It's not a feeling anymore, it's a data-driven correlation that points straight to a key variable, location. Okay, the final step in this whole process is to compile your findings. Your goal is to create a professional, data-driven report, a dossier that you can share with technical experts or journalists or even legal counsel, all without compromising your identity or your safety. And this is the kind of structure that people take seriously. You start with a summary, you clearly explain your methodology, including how you used null trials. You present your analysis with charts and other visuals, and then you provide the anonymized raw data so they can verify it. The key here is total professionalism and a laser focus on evidence, while carefully protecting all your personal info. I want you to let that sink in for a second. When you follow this method, you completely transform your experience. You are no longer just a person with a collection of confusing stories. You become an investigator who is building a body of evidence, a genuine forensic trail that demands to be taken seriously. So what's the big takeaway here? Why does this all matter so much? Building a signature library gives you agency. It gives you a methodical, rational path forward. It turns the chaos and uncertainty into a focused, data-driven investigation where you are in control. But of course, all of this incredible work leads to a new, really critical challenge. You've got the data. You have the dossier. How in the world do you present this evidence to authorities or lawyers or other organizations in a way that actually gets a real response? Well, that is exactly what we're going to cover next time.